go and find a production company wherever you want to start out. I mean, California, Austin, wherever you want to go. Find a big production company and just say, hey, I'll do anything. I'll go get coffee if you want me to get coffee.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay me. I just want to be around this. Please let me be around
Just
it.
get involved in it.
Absolutely.
The Catwalk Podcast showcases the greatest of the people of the Permian Basin through partnering in conversation with high-level leaders, social entrepreneurs, nonprofit leadership, and industry executives.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Catwalk. I am your host, Jay Whitlow, who has survived Time Change Weekend. And another guy over there that I hope has survived Time Change Weekend is Chris. What's up, Chris?
Oh, not a lot. But let me add on that.
Yeah.
If it's Time Change Weekend
Exactly.
and you go to church that Sunday, your message needs to be full of energy.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
'Cause
You're exactly right.
No offense to the guy that I listened to this Sunday,
Uh-oh.
but it was putting me to sleep.
And you're not going to tell us where you were,
No,
right?
not gonna throw anyone under the bus.
We're just all going to visualize who that might be. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
The Washington Post recently came out with an article on something that you and I talked about earlier today, and that is texting and calling, the use of your phones, right?
Right.
Do you remember we were talking about FaceTime calls? And
Yes.
FaceTimes are only for what?
Friends and family.
Friends and family, right?
Right.
If you're a boss, an organization, don't be FaceTiming me, and especially don't do it like at 10 o'clock at night, right? That's my downtime. But the Washington Post came out with this phone etiquette, and I just want to go over it real quick and get your take on it, okay? Number one, they said don't ever leave a voicemail. Voicemails are a thing of the past. What do you think about that?
The only people that leave voicemails nowadays are bill collectors and scams.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's true.
Like, not even my doctor's office or my dentist's office or anything like that leaves a voicemail. I get a text notification now.
Right. I think that's the new voicemail is the text notification. Right? Also, one of the things that's kind of the new etiquette is always text before calling. So I'm assuming what they mean is I'm going to text you and say, "Hey, do you have a few minutes? Nothing urgent, but I'd love to chat with you. Are you okay with that?"
Yeah, like my sister will text me and say, "Are you free to FaceTime?" Because I'll usually FaceTime her and the kids.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, give me a few minutes and I'll be good. But usually, like, the only person who calls without saying, "Hey, are you good to talk?" is my dad.
And that's the generational thing,
Yeah.
probably, right? I think when you said something about scams and solicitors and stuff, maybe people who aren't in our circle, they're probably just going to reach out and call. But I always try to, if it's somebody that I've never met before or don't know that well, I will always just kind of reach out and ask them when's a good time to call. The whole where you call and you get them like, "Hey, now's not a good time," and then you got to call back, that's kind of a thing of the past. Another thing on their list is you don't always have to answer the phone, right? What do you think about that? Do you always answer the phone when somebody calls?
Never answer the phone if it's one of two things: somebody I don't know calling,
Yeah.
or somebody that I know doesn't know how to have a short conversation. Like, I've got a good friend of mine, love the guy to death.
You're not talking about me.
I'd rather text him.
Yeah.
Because if he's calling, it's because he wants to chat for like an hour.
He's got time.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that.
I don't got time.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this one, I really do like this one. Emotions are for voice. Facts are for text.
Agreed. I had a
100%.
coworker at a TV station job that I had, and he would get so mad when you would text him because he would read emotion into the text. And he would say, text is for urgency.
Right.
And phone calls are for things that can be handled later. And I'm like, Should be the
Right.
opposite.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But he would get
be the
so
opposite.
worked up over the text message.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I've had another boss, let's say, who lacks people skills altogether.
Yeah.
And so his text messages are the coldest, most offensive conversations
Yeah.
when it comes to like personal attacks because he doesn't know how to phrase a conversation.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fine line in the middle
I think so.
because there's a lot of times where when I'm texting somebody, I'll overthink what I'm
Yeah.
going to send
Yeah.
to make sure that they won't misread it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can't differentiate that.
Right. Another one is don't send one sentence at a time. Like sometimes I get texts from people and it's 32 sentences long.
I hate
and it's
that.
32 sends, right?
It's-
Just put it all in one bubble.
It's so annoying. I have a friend who's like, he will send his train of thought
Yes.
separately.
Yes.
Right? So he'll, like, just last night, I sent him a clip from the Academy Awards where
Yeah.
it was Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito talking about Batman.
Brilliant.
right?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And I sent it to him, and he went, I think I got 15 text messages. Like, all could have been in one,
Could have been one bubble.
but he just was like, think of something, send it. Think of something,
Right,
send it.
Right. That drives me crazy. The last one is this. Just because the person doesn't pick up doesn't mean you call them right back. Do you have a time set where, like, if you were to call me and I didn't answer, that you're going to give me like so many minutes before you call me back?
Not really. I wouldn't call you unless it was an emergency,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it would be more like, so I always give my dad a hard time because if I call him for a reason
Right.
and he doesn't answer right away, he's really good about texting saying in a meeting, at work, whatever, driving,
I'm
whatever.
alive.
Yeah. But I always respond back, you lost your chance. Not answering
missed it.
anymore.
Yeah, you missed it. Well, I have learned over time, because the phone's been around for what, 150 years, something like that, close to it. But the iPhone has been around for less than 20 years, right? And so we have really come a long way in that short 20 years of the cell phone, of learning text messaging and FaceTiming and calling. And now you've got video voicemail, don't you? Do you ever use that?
I have never messed with that because I guess, you can FaceTime voicemail basically is what that is how I understand it.
Yeah.
I don't get enough FaceTimes. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, my sister is the only person who FaceTime me. So she's only FaceTiming me if I know she's FaceTiming. So I don't ever miss anything.
Where's the worst place somebody's called you from?
Called me from, like, where
From.
they were?
Yeah, like I'll share with mine. Mine's been some dude called me, friend, and he was in the bathroom.
Oh, I hate that.
And I'm
hang
like,
up on
could
you.
you not just text me and say, hey, man, I need to call you, but in about 5 minutes?
Oh, man. I hate that. I will hang up on you.
Yes.
Once I hear the echo of
Yes.
the bathroom, click.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
done. Well, I was in the Las Vegas airport
Yeah.
and walked into the restroom,
Great airport.
and a guy was on the phone in the stall and talking loudly,
Oh.
right? And so I just yelled, like while standing at the urinal, just yelled, put on a pair of earbuds or wait till you get out of the bathroom. And, like, the dude just got quiet.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Everybody in the bathroom started laughing because it was obnoxious. He was so loud. And you're in the bathroom.
Yeah. That's not the place you need to be calling me from. Take care of whatever it is you're doing in there and then call me. And I'm certainly not going to call you from the bathroom unless I've fallen and I can't get up, right? And then you'll know that I'm calling you because it's an emergency, right? So phone etiquette, I mean, we've come a long way on that. We are excited, Chris, to have with us a very special guest on the show today, Adam Reed. Adam is and I love this about his bio, he is a lover of great stories and film. It's interesting we have him coming on the heels of the Oscars. We're going to talk to him a little bit about maybe what he saw and how he feels about some of the movies this year. But he is currently the co-owner of Filmhunter Media. based here in the Permian Basin. Filmhunter Media is a video content creation and marketing company that marries production with strategy. His team is building relationships and aiding local businesses, nonprofits, and individuals here in the Permian Basin to pursue quality media and marketing. Adam and his wife of 16 years currently lives here in Midland with their 4 boys. So we're excited today to welcome our special guest, Adam Reed.
Elevate your operation with Performance Chemical Company, the pioneers in redefining chemical solutions for the oil and gas industry in the Permian Basin. Unveiling groundbreaking ideas since 2017, our dry chemistry plant stands as a testament to innovation. Our products and services revolutionize water treatment, production, midstream, and saltwater disposals. We're your strategic partners in optimizing investments, slashing operating expenses. Performance Chemical Company. How you get there matters.
Well, welcome back to the Catwalk. This is my good friend, Adam Reed. Adam, welcome to the Catwalk.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Glad you're here. I want to get into your bio a little bit, as I shared with the viewers and listeners. But before we do that, you're a big lover of stories and film. So did you catch the Oscars last night?
I did. I do every year.
Yeah? What is your favorite film this last year? Was it one of the nominees or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the best film was Oppenheimer, so I think they got that right. I mean, there's just so many incredible things they did with that. But the one that ended up not winning anything, didn't get any love, that, man, it has sat with me every day since I've watched it, is Past Lives. Yeah, and so it was nominated on one of the script categories.
Yeah.
But it is just a beautiful film about 2 childhood friends that grow up in Korea together, and then one moves off to the U.S., and their lives progress,
Right.
And then as adults, when they're in different places, their lives kind of cross back, and it's one of those things where I found myself saying, there's no way I'm going to like the end of this movie. I'm going to hate it because it gets into some, she's married and it's like, I don't want an affair. I can't root for that and everything. And somehow they end it perfectly. And like, I found myself, which I'm an emotional whatever, but I was crying. My wife was crying, and it was just like, that is the beauty of a great story. And it's one I don't think too many people have seen, but absolutely should
Yeah,
watch.
I've not heard of it. I was pulling for The Holdovers. Did you ever see that one?
Absolutely. That was a lot of fun.
I love that one with Paul Giamatti. That was a great film. So you mentioned something about emotional. So do you cry at movies?
I do.
Which movie gets you the most?
Oh,
Is there
gosh.
one that's like, no matter how many times you see it, you're ugly cry?
I mean, an easy one is the scene in Up.
Really?
I mean, the first time
Yeah.
I had to stop the movie because I was a mess. I was a mess watching that montage. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably any Pixar will do it to me. But I tear up pretty easily in a lot of them. So.
Who would play you in a movie?
Well, a while back, I used to do a lot of public speaking, and I often got Jack Black or Zach Galifianakis.
I was going to guess both of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because of the movie The Hangover, I was actually called Fat Jesus quite a bit
Really?
when I would show up to some
That's
schools.
awesome.
So I guess I'd go probably Zach Galifianakis or Jack Black, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say Jack Black easily.
Yeah.
School of Rock. I was
Absolutely.
going to say, oh my gosh. And then when you said Zach from Hangover, I'm like, I can see it.
Yep,
Yes,
yep.
that would be awesome. So when you go into being in film, and we'll talk about that in a second,
Yeah.
but when you go into a theater and watch cinema or film or movies, whatever the proper term is, do you find yourself critiquing as a person who's in the industry, or do you go in and you say, hey, this one I'm just going in as a fan and I'm watching?
So I try as best I can to first watch as a fan. Just enjoy, lose yourself in the experience. because I feel like if I'm already critiquing while it's the first watch, I miss things and I don't enjoy it as well as I could. And so I try, and especially, sitting with my wife or my kids, whoever, try to keep my mouth shut so I don't when I'm like, oh, I see where this is obvious or whatever, try to keep it and try to forget about it and just move on to really focus, because I want to kind of experience the moment. And once you've experienced that story for the first time, you can't experience it again.
Right.
And so I try for the first one, forget all that stuff, leave it at the
Right.
door, just enjoy, watch the movie. And then after that, if it's one I like, then I'll dive
back and
back in
critique
and
it.
dissect it.
It's funny that you said that.
Yeah.
Because when I was in college, I was studying film and media and all this, and it took a moment like that to realize, I was like, I've got to stop being that way, because I was writing reviews for a job, at the time, and I was watching M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, right, and it was 4 minutes into the movie, and I stood up, and I was like, it's in modern time, and it walked out of the theater.
That's good.
I was so mad that I had figured it out so early.
Yeah.
I can't watch that movie now.
Yeah.
It just ruined it for me. So after that, I was like, I've got to watch it as a fan first before I start tearing it apart.
Yeah. It's tough.
Being in ministry, paid church staff for so long, before I starting this podcast, I would always go into services as a part of the church staff and team that put together the service. Now that I'm out of that and not in church staff, I can't help but sit through every service of any church and go, okay, those lights are bad, the sound levels are off, boy, the stand is too tall for that speaker. I mean, I can't get over that. I can't imagine you guys watching film and not sitting there and just picking those apart. Who would you say is one of your favorite directors?
Oh man. I typically lean towards anything Scorsese makes, I'm gonna watch that, because there's just a lot of layers and things going on there. And then Guillermo del Toro is another one of mine who, especially when he makes things he's more passionate about.
Yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth is a movie I've watched I don't know how many times, and I
Really?
still can watch it again and again and pick up new things and little nuances, and it's beautiful how he can kind of weave a story.
Yeah. Is there anything, a movie, film that's coming out in the next couple of months or year that you're excited about?
Oh man, there's
Chris has got one that's
Quite a
coming out in
bit.
2 weeks at Ghostbusters that he's
Oh, yeah.
he's excited about over there.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely Ghostbusters is a big one. It's fun because now that I have kids, and Indiana Jones was kind of the same way. Where you have some of these childhood films that you grew up on loving, and then all of a sudden now they're getting to experience firsts with you, and that's that. Yeah, I find myself typically looking forward to quite a few movies that involve the family.
Yeah.
Probably more just because you get to almost, for my family, it's, 4 kids. So it's 4X the excitement and joy,
Right.
When it's something that they can also get excited about. And so I think Dune 2 is one they're pretty excited to watch. And they don't know, but we got tickets tomorrow to go see it tomorrow evening. So
that's awesome.
We're gonna go to the theater and watch it and experience it. So we'll see how that is.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to spend some time getting to know you and have our listeners and viewers get to know you and your business. So walk us through from the beginning. Kind of, you're from Midland, so walk us through, maybe your early years up until high school when you met your wife, and then maybe up into now that you have the 4 boys, which I'm sure is very energetic and exciting to keep up with. It's probably a film itself, right?
Yes.
It's like
Oh,
its
yeah.
own movie.
Oh, yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so born and raised in Midland. My dad, was born and raised in Midland, and my mom was a a military daughter, traveling around. And so, in Midland, grew up jumping from school to school a little bit, kind of out of necessity. I think my dad wanted me to go to St. Anne's because he had a Catholic upbringing, and so I did that for a couple years. And then once that was running out, I went to Midland Christian for a couple of years, and there I really kind of had a big growth period in my life, 7th through 9th grade, which is kind of weird because those are normally like the throwaway years where no one wants to ever remember those years. And there's plenty I don't want to remember, but I dealt with a lot of I was kind of the I was in all the athletics, and so I was in the in crowd, I guess you could say, but I was also more of a meek, kind of introspective, quieter person, unless I'm, with someone I know well or in a smaller group. And so I found myself as kind of the butt of the joke sometimes, or not liking the person or the behavior that was making someone else a butt of the joke. And I found myself becoming quite like pulling back from the crowd a little bit. And really, it was a moment where I was able to grow a ton in empathy and see, some of the kids that were getting some of the stories are almost unbelievable now that I say them to people. It's just, that should never happen. And so it was just, it was a really tiring situation, but we had some friends we were going to church with that mentioned Midland Classical to my parents, and I told them I want to go there. I want to get out. I don't know anything about this school. It sounds kind of weird, but there's some cool kids I met at church, and they go there, so it can't be that bad. And so I finished up high school at MCA, and it again was a big transitional learning moment for me, where suddenly I'd been able to kind of glide by academically with, 70s, or if I really like the subject, it'd be in the 80s or whatever. But at MCA, you can't do that with an 85 being the target, and that freaked me out. And so I had to really work hard to actually learn how to learn, and not just kind of, I was always able to just get by. So I had to kind of reprogram myself, find a love for learning, and at the same time was able to build good relationships with peers and some deep friendships that many have still lasted all these years. And MCA is where I also kind of got into making movies. My parents, I think it was in 7th grade, gave me my first camera when I asked for it for my birthday, and man, I wore that camera out through. I mean, it was the years where Jackass was a big TV show, and so part of it was let's see if we can jump off the trampoline and jump over the fence and land in the cactus pile or whatever, and just doing stupid stuff that.
You were actually filming that.
Yeah, I don't. I
were
don't
you the
know
guy
how
doing
I'm
it?
Half the time, yeah. I would regret it immediately
That's awesome.
after, but
So you say that. I've still got my first shoulder VHS camera.
Yeah.
Right? Still sitting at the house. And you bring that up, and it made me think, what was, besides the Jackass stuff, what was your first story-based thing you shot?
Great question.
I still remember the first one that, the first story that worked, where it was like an experiment, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And it wasn't a full fleshed out story, but I had seen on TV a skit by Monty Python where they're out golfing and just terrible shots, and so balls are going everywhere, and mayhem's happening. And so I was like, I want to see if I can do this. And I didn't know anything about editing. I didn't have a computer to edit. So it was all in-camera editing, which usually was really bad.
That's old school.
And so, so it'd be, all right, we shoot that. All right, we like that take. Now we'll go shoot the other one. We'll try to rewind back to the right moment and take a new take. And it was, if we had credits, it was filming the piece of paper with the writing kind of thing. And Yeah, I remember the first one was friend. We were in my front yard and chipping a ball and yelling for, and then someone else was talking, and the ball came and hit him on the head, and blood like coming down their face, and it was ridiculous. But
That's awesome.
doing it was like, oh, I can put that scene, that shot, and then that shot, and then that shot together. And it elicited a laugh when we showed it, and it was like, oh, I can do this. And so very quickly it was like, all right, let's do, this little thing. And I have lots of videos of, friends that are some in town, some out of town that would prefer I not show any of the videos anymore, where they're dressed in dresses or whatever and, being robbed or all kinds of things. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
What was that first camera? What?
It was a little mini DV camera, and so it was really small, compact, had little mini DV tapes. And
You still
and
have it?
I do still have it, yeah.
Really?
In fact, those things work so great that we still sometimes use it when we have, clients or someone who's like, hey, I need this thing transferred. Do you guys do it? And it's like, yeah, and I pop it in that camera, and we can kind of convert it to digital and everything. And so I still haven't converted my old stuff to digital, but I need to carve out the time to do it because it was a fun period.
So when you made that story-based video film, like for me, when I made my first story-driven movie, it was me and my friends. We were really big like Trauma fans. We were Joe Bob Briggs fans. Like we would. Those B movies,
yeah,
right?
Oh yeah.
And so we did ours, and it's funny because my friends still text me about this occasionally because we're still trying to find the tape. But we made a movie called Holler, and it's a hillbilly scream kind of a movie. Holler like as in like Virginia going through the holler.
Yeah.
But also holler like I'm hollering at you.
Yeah.
And so
I see what
we
you
had-
did.
Oh,
there.
that's fun.
and we edited when you said the in camera edit.
Yeah.
We did ours 2 VCRs together. And we had a blank tape.
Oh,
play it,
yeah.
record it, play it back and forth. And the VCR that we used, you could actually program credits into it.
Yeah.
And they were janky.
Man.
So janky.
wow.
But like we were inspired by the Trauma era, those, like I was watching Matinee the other day with John Goodman and was reminiscing about how those old B monster movies, right, were great.
Oh yeah.
What inspired that first story for you?
Oh man, for me, really what got me into it and where it was like, man, I want to do this is my family. It was pretty regular tradition every Friday night, Blockbuster night. So getting to go there and kids don't understand what it was like anymore.
For our younger fans, Blockbuster is a rental store where you actually can take the movie and hold it in your hand and take it home and put it in the DVD or the VHS. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and
Okay, keep
so,
going.
just being able to kind of peruse and even the movies that I didn't take home or wasn't allowed to take home or whatever.
Yeah.
Being able to kind of see those images and things being made, and it opened up my mind to like, oh, wow, there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
And anything can become an interesting story. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it started. And so we would do like these family movie nights, it just became this kind of innate thing inside me, which I always loved writing and creating stories. And I mean, there's like comics that I made when I was, very young that my mom still likes to bring out on occasion and stuff that,
Party tricks.
just like it was just something where I was like, I have to get this out, and then see, did it work? Does anyone enjoy this? And so once I really was kind of regularly exposed to the cinema, I realized, man, that's the coolest place to do that because it's not just images, it's not just words, it's not just a story, it's not just sound, it's like everything together. And so it really excited me about the possibility, but I really didn't think that it was really possible.
Yeah.
I guess, other than, you know, making dumb little videos with my friends. I really didn't think I would really get into making stuff.
Right.
And until senior year in at MCA, and one of the cool things is my senior year was the very first year that MCA decided to do a senior year film class, and so Brandon Schumann taught it, and he had talked to some people who, you know, knew a little bit about equipment and stuff, and they invested in, you know, a nice camera and a tripod and a boom mic, and got, you know, a handful of things, and they said, hey, we're gonna as a class make a movie. And it was one of those where the clouds just kind of part and the sun shines on you and you're like, oh yeah, this is it. So yeah, me and my friend, one of my best friends at the time, Heath Posey, we decided, all right, we're gonna be the ones that are gonna get our story picked, because we're going to top everyone else. We're going to work real hard. And so it ended up being like a goofy kind of PG Christian version of Dumb and Dumber a little bit.
You still have this?
Yeah. So I keep, just as a memory, I keep the poster of the movie on my wall. And my mom, without me knowing, got my whole class to sign it and everything. It's just a cool memory. But my kids have actually watched the movie, and that's I can't stand to watch it anymore. But
so they've watched it, and you were how old when you did that?
I was a senior in high school, so
wow.
I was goofy looking, and oh man, awkward, and so we scripted the whole thing, storyboarded a lot of it, picked locations, shot the whole thing, and all that took place within a school year. And then at the end of the year, we premiered the film, and it was a feature length. I think it ended up being like, I want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 minutes or something like that. So it's longer than it should be.
Wow.
But it still has some pretty funny jokes that, you know, we're
Christian Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, the Christian. Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Great.
So it was a lot of fun, and that showed me, okay, I can do this. And I was empowered to kind of be in a position to see the process from beginning to end, and it was kind of different days where we were able to stay in the school by ourselves as seniors in high school overnight to just keep editing and all this stuff, and we made it happen, and I decided, I want to do this for a living if I can, and so that's when, thankfully, I've had supportive parents my whole life. My family, you know, has always been in the petroleum field or adjacent to it, and so, you know, I feel like a lot of people have that kind of expectation pushed on them on, like, hey, you need to do something practical.
Right.
And you know, probably not every parent wants to hear that their kid wants to go to film school, much less, hey, can you help pay for it? But I decided first to get my basics out of the way, so I went to Texas Tech because I always loved that school, and you know, loved the sports and everything. So I went and did 2 years there, always doing dumb film stuff on the side, and then coming back to Midland and helping out with Stonegate, you know, with youth and stuff, doing some video stuff. But then went to North Texas, and that's where I went to their film school there, and I wish if I could go back, I would have done more practical classes, just for now's sake. But I was always really fascinated, and I want to dig into the whys of the story and all that stuff. So I did a lot of, you know, Hitchcock. I did a Hitchcock class where we dissected his films and, you know, what's going on there. How does he use tension and build it? And did some strange ones that kind of stretched me. Like I did a gender and sexuality and horror, and that was weird, and a fascinating professor, and that one was just it slowly just started kind of opening my world to, life is bigger than just this little bubble I've lived in Midland, and there's a lot of different perspectives and people and stories out there. And so, I did that. On the side, I helped out a film news and review website that was local called Gordon and the Whale. And it was two guys who started it, and I jumped in and helped write a lot of news. And so it got big enough to where we were hosting, premieres for movies. So I got to see, The Dark Knight before it released. I got to see a bunch of big films, on kind of early test screenings where they would make us take questionnaires afterwards on what did you like, what did you not like, and they were interviewing, big names and everything, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a grind and there was not much money in it, so it didn't really last long. But once I hit my senior year, so my wife and I, she wasn't my wife then, but we met senior year in high school at MCA, and she's Ron Miller's niece. And so so she came for her senior year, actually dated my best friend our freshman year in college, and then we're just always best friends. In fact, she was who I would ask like advice for other girls on how to talk to her. Yeah, she was, and so we were just like good friends. And in my mind, she's off limits because she's my friend likes her or whatever. And then when they were broken up, we actually ended up just the two of us stuck in Midland one summer between our freshman and sophomore years, and we just hung out all the time. And then I just realized I really like this girl, and I'm allowed to now. And
I'm allowed to like her.
She's pretty, and she's my best friend, so that works well. And so we dated.
She liked film and
she does.
Movies and stuff,
she doesn't dabble in writing anything herself or whatever. She jumps in and helps when I ask. She's always great on that, but she loves watching with me, and so I mean, we made it through all the Best Picture nominees together and talk about them and stuff. And she's definitely a lover of movies, thankfully. So I don't have to watch them alone.
Does she cry in movies as much as you do?
Oh, yeah. She's even more emotional than I am.
Really?
So it's so we married before my senior year of college, and so she got a job. She wasn't doing college at that time, so she got a full-time job, and I worked part-time. And at that time, it was 2000. What would that be? 8. And so no one's hiring. And in Denton, it was real bad because there's all these college students wanting these terrible jobs that no one wants typically. And so I applied at Walmart. I applied at Chili's, and everything I heard everywhere I went was, sorry, do you have any experience? And I didn't. And so
I make movies.
I had worked other jobs normally, growing up I did, a lot of yard stuff. And then I had worked for Mark here in Midland and everything, and then worked for the church and stuff. So nothing in the service industry. And so I wasn't hireable. And so we realized we have to do something to make a living, and so we became CNAs, so certified nurses assistants, and worked at one of the poorest reviewed retirement homes in Texas. It was rough. It was
paid the bills
very
though.
Tough. Absolutely, and still to this day I can't thank my wife enough for doing that while I'm also doing school because it was mainly changing adult diapers, cleaning people in the shower, feeding people, and then changing some more diapers.
Humbling experience, I bet.
Very much so. Yeah, I mean, we could probably spend a whole podcast talking stories of that place. It was crazy. But, once I graduated, we knew we wanted to get out there. And I've always been a little risk averse and scared is probably the best term. And so for me, if I had, the bravery, it would have been like, all right, let's go try this thing. Let's go to California or let's go to Austin, whatever. But it was, I don't know what to do. Unless someone, came up and just offered me a job.
Right.
I wasn't putting myself out there, and I was really scared and had, had been turned away from Walmart and Chili's. So it wasn't a great, emotional builder. And so she got an offer back in Midland to work at an oil company with some friends we knew. And so we moved back. And then from there, I just bounced around odd job to odd job, helping flip houses. I was a substitute teacher for a while. Then I went to work for the Life Center and taught sex ed in the schools. And so did that for a while, and then ended up having a conversation with Ron Miller, and he just, was like, hey, would you want to teach? And it just so happened that one of my partners now, Luke McDonald, with Filmhunter Media, he taught at MCA, had moved on to go do some other stuff, and so they had a vacancy at the school I graduated from to teach their film class of seniors, along with the junior art class and other things. And so I jumped at that opportunity and went to teaching. And so I taught at MCA for 8 years before doing what I do now.
Wow. Full circle all the way back.
Yeah, absolutely.
MCA, when you were the guy making those in the classroom at night on the weekends or whatever, you would have never thought you'd be back here.
No. Yeah.
Doing that as a career. So when was it that you said, I'm going to launch my own media company? Yeah.
So, I would say, I'm just now learning to stop being afraid, really, at 37 years of age now. And so really, I was at MCA and I loved it. The students, the relationships you get to have with students, and it is weird compared to other schools where it was not uncommon to have a student or several students sitting in my office just talking about life or whatever. And so I loved that. I loved being able to teach a lot of the things I taught and everything. But at the same time, I always felt like I wasn't listening to what I really was supposed to be doing. Sure. And so I was able to kind of scratch that itch with, making, senior films and short films with my students. But, it just so happened that I ran into Luke McDonald, and he and his wife, he was, doing land. He was a landman, and then COVID hit, and that was no longer a thing for him. Sure. And so he made videos on the side for some people he knew just to make ends meet. And after he started doing that, he realized there was quite a need. And so he really started filling up and doing more and more. One of the big first things that Filmhunter Media really did that kind of left a mark for our company is Midland Festival Ballet couldn't put on their Nutcracker performance during COVID. And so, one, that's a big bummer for all the students, but sure. Two, they were going to lose a lot of funding because they receive funds to be able to put that on. And so they pivoted and realized, why can't we just make a film? And so Luke and his wife and his brother, he bribed him into helping, and they filmed a beautiful rendition of Nutcracker, and they were able to premiere it on PBS. They had a cool showing out at the drive-in theater for people, just to enjoy something normal, especially such a staple for Christmas time during the horrors of COVID. And he started building it up. Him and his wife were kind of at a point where they're like, we can't do this, alone. And I ran into him. We started talking, and I quickly realized, I want to join you guys. Yeah. And so,
so you made the pivot to do that.
I did. So I made the tough decision of not teaching anymore of what was normal and really what was comfortable, because my kids went to school there. I could see them all the time. I had summers off,
Right.
which is a lot of fun with young kids. And but yeah, it was like, okay, we got to do this. And so yeah, I joined about 2 years ago, and really since I joined, we've just hit the ground running on
Wow.
Project after project, from making commercials to podcasts to feature-length documentaries to pretty much you name it, we've done it or have been a part of something like it. So
Right.
yeah, it's been a pretty cool journey.
What?
So
Yeah, Chris.
every content creator, let's just use that as a blanket term. Some people like filmmaker, some people like editor, let's just content creator. Like every one of us kind of has a tier of areas that we consider ourselves really good at, and then kind of listed after that. Like for me, like my top is live production. And then editing and video shooting, like graphic design, stuff like that. And they're all really close to each other, but like I consider live production my forte.
Yeah.
What area do you think is your strongest?
Yeah, great question.
That's exactly what I was going to ask too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the story is where I absolutely love. And so on my own, I script stories. I've, even though I've had plenty of people tell me it's a waste of time, it's still just fun and it's not too expensive to enter script writing contests and stuff. And I've won some awards through some script writing contests and stuff, which is a nice little confidence boost.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've done a lot of that, just because I have to get stories out. I mean, I will find myself not able to sleep at night sometimes working on a fictional story that, maybe no one else will ever even know. And so, and then, so really, in Filmhunter Media, I mean, probably my specialty would be crafting the story. And so whether it's a commercial or whatever, trying to figure out, because typically a client will say, this is what I want. And it's trying to figure out, okay, what's really the want underneath that, or what's the need that
Right.
isn't being said, and trying to find that. And it's a lot of fun. And so I find, writing those stories for commercials or, even in a feature-length documentary going, okay, we got, 30 hours of footage. What is the story here? How are we going to actually make this make sense, be engaging, and be shorter than a lot of the Oscar movies were this year,
exactly.
to where people actually want to sit through the whole thing. And so that's the most exciting part to me. And again, as a smaller production company, there's not really a lane we stay in. We do it all. But yeah, that's probably just the part that I absolutely love, because I love to see the world through other people's eyes. I love to empathize with different situations that I haven't been in or don't understand until I talk to someone or work something out or engage in someone's story and realize, oh, that's it, and kind of have this realization, and then kind of want to explore it myself in my own kind of story. And so I absolutely I can't get enough of that, and it honestly haunts my brain half the time.
Really?
Where in fact I just read in a book that I'm reading by Donald Miller. He talks about how most people daydream like 30% of the time if they're not currently engaged in a story. And I was like, oh man, I'm not most people, because it's probably way higher than that. Yeah.
Well, you got 4 boys,
I do.
right?
Yeah.
And they're growing up in an age that we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have everything at our fingertips, and YouTube and
Oh, yeah.
Snapchat and all that. And I'm not saying do they do that, but are any of your boys, are they leaning toward film? Do they have a bent on following in dad's footprints, or are they going in a different direction?
I would say all of them have little shades of it. You know, because of what I do, and I've needed kids from time to time to be in something. You know, my two
Pay
oldest.
them?
I normally pay them in treats.
Treats. We're going ice cream today.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. But yeah, my two oldest were in a MCA, you know, senior film.
Yeah.
My second oldest, Boone, he's the one I've told him you're gonna go way farther than I ever have, because he already has the creativity. I mean, he's been creating comics that some push the boundaries. Like he has a superhero named Nipple Man, which is really weird and shoots nipples.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little nervous about what he's got from me. But I mean, he's
brilliant.
already creating stop motion with Legos that blow
Really?
my mind. That I'm like, I don't even know how you came up with that story. And like he created one where it's like an astronaut comes and plants the flag on the moon, and then walks off, and then an alien comes and throws it away and plants his own thing, and then it ends up ending with a comet just crashing and blowing
the
it
whole
all
thing up. Yeah.
And it was like, man, where did you get that? And not only that, I didn't teach him how to do stop motion.
Yeah.
He just realized, oh, it's pictures. I move it a little bit. Okay. And he
Yeah.
just did it. And so,
awesome.
yeah, it's real exciting. And he can act. It's pretty exciting on what his future holds for him. But yeah, all of them. Luke and I actually just we're in the midst of making a short film on the side in the little bit of free time we have. And so we're kind of in pretty much post now at this point, and all of our kids were thrust into that one. They got some good snow cones from that, but yeah, it's a lot of fun just to kind of share a little bit of that with your kids, to show them a little bit of what you do. And not all of them are like really into it, and that's fine. I want them to find what they're passionate about. All of them have things that they're pretty passionate about, which is exciting. But yeah, just being able to find those little moments that they're able to you're able to just share that experience with them. And movies play a big part in our family. We do, just like I talked about, growing up, we did movie night. We religiously, and it's like serious in our family to do movie night every Friday, unless something can't be moved on Friday and it moves to Saturday or something. But yeah, we trade whose night it is to pick, and you get to pick the movie, you get to pick the dinner. And so
that's great.
Yeah,
those are great memories that they're going to have, that you hope that maybe when they're parents that they continue that, and what a great legacy that is. Now, earlier you said you if a movie was made about you, it'd be Jack Black or Zach Galifianakis. So I gotta ask you before we kind of wrap this up.
Yeah.
Favorite Jack Black movie?
Oh man. I think his best acting was in The Holiday.
Yes. I thought you were going to say Nacho Libre. I was going to.
I mean, that's my kid's favorite.
Yeah, that's a great
Absolutely,
movie. But
hands
The
down.
Holiday, yes.
I mean, it's just subtle, and it's a totally different side of him where he's earnest, he's sweet, and just it's.
Did you cry in that movie?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Not when anything he does.
No.
But with the other two, I can't even think of their
Absolutely,
names now. But my favorite scene in that movie is when they're in the Blockbuster.
Oh yes.
Right, and he's ad-libbing
Yeah.
a lot of the things as he picks up a disc case. He's ad-libbing stuff, and I didn't know that. That was amazing that he did that. So
Yeah, he's good at that.
favorite, I guess, Zach Galifianakis movie other than The Hangover. Has he done anything other than The Hangover?
He has. I don't think he's done anything as big.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the name of it. There's one where he's in a mental hospital.
Okay.
And kind of mentors a young kid who is put into the mental hospital. I cannot think of the name off the top of my head.
Did you ever see those Between Two Ferns?
Oh yeah.
Those
Oh yeah.
little shorts that he would do. Those were
Absolutely.
those were
So
great.
I want to,
Yeah.
just real quick, I want to go back to when you were talking about your kids. So say one of them really, really gets the bug and they want to chase it, or you have a student that was to walk up to you and really has an interest to it. So for me, Kevin Smith said, if you're alive, kick it into drive and chase whimsy. And that's something that I've always kind of followed.
Yeah.
I've done some really dumb things in my life because I've chased whimsy.
Yeah.
What is something that you would tell them getting into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would recommend is before you have, any big responsibilities or things that could make decisions a lot harder. I think one of the best things, and I honestly don't even know where I heard this, but go and find a production company wherever you want to start out. I mean, California, Austin, wherever you want to go. Find a big production company and just say, hey, I'll do anything. I'll go get coffee if you want me to get coffee.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay me. I just want to be around this. Please let me be around
Just
it.
get involved in
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
And one of the things is just being around it. You absorb so much. And that's when, there are very few people that will go that extra mile. Most people want that security. And that's where I found myself is graduating. I'm not going to California. I got a wife and, no one's hiring. I can't do it.
Right.
I'm, beat myself down to where I feel like I'm not going to be able to do it. And I think too many people have that mentality instead of saying, you know what, I'm just going to go see what happens. And that's where a lot of those successes come from is those people that say, I'm just going to go do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'll make what I want to make and I'll, go work my butt off and go the extra mile that most people won't. And hopefully that gets rewarded. And, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I think, now where I'm at in my life, there are plenty of moments where I go, what if I would have just said this or done this or asked my professor, hey, are there any opportunities or whatever? Because I did fine in class. I mean, even in my production class, I was quickly picked as the director and all that stuff, but just never put myself out there. And so that's what I would tell. And I have told, students that asked, I say, hey, if you're going the college route, make sure you do as much practical as you can, and try to intern. Don't worry about money right away. If you can survive,
Right.
just do the hard stuff. Do anything that gets you out there.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I think that would help.
You said you mentioned Donald Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I love Blue Like Jazz. I don't know if that's the book you're reading or not, but
It's not. It's building a
Story Brand.
Story Brand. Yeah.
It's another great book. So, what are you doing currently now to make yourself a better leader, a better filmmaker? Are you reading? Are you listening to things? What would you encourage someone to maybe pick up and read?
Yeah, I mean, as far as reading, man, I am all over the place. I mean, I guess the past two books before I started this book is Killers of the Flower Moon, and then what did I do before that? I'm just all over the place. This past year, probably read 15 books, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Or listen to. I usually listen.
Yeah, that's me.
But right now, along with my son, I'm doing the Hunger Games prequel.
Yeah.
And so just all over the place, and really, for me, and I think it's all about good stories, period. I personally don't care if it's real, if it's fake.
Right.
I think there is a lot to be gleaned from, a lot to be learned, a lot to empathize with, to see the world through someone else's eyes, and that's always really exciting to me. I'll like I've said, in the past when teaching and stuff to students, I'll never be a female. I'll never be someone of a different race. I live here in Midland, Texas. I have a worldview that I've, built and grown up in. And there is almost nothing more exciting than me to experience life through someone else's eyes and see it in a new way and realize how short-sighted I am. There's so many things that are right there in front of me that I don't think is a big deal, or I didn't realize until it's pointed out to me through someone else, and it radically reshapes your worldview. It reshapes the way you look at things. It reshapes how you love people, how you interact with people, and that's one of the things, in our job. It's all about relationships. That's really, we oftentimes are counselors. I had a student who goes to one of the colleges in town who wants to create a documentary, is willing to work really hard to finance it, and reached out to us out of the blue because he didn't even think there was anyone that does this in the area.
Right.
And so I told him, hey, I'll talk with you and meet with you. And he came and sat in my office, and we talked for an hour and a half. And he just poured out his whole life story, and the things he's gone through are just incredible and heartbreaking. And we both cried in my office, and it was a kid I've never even met. And by the end of it, I realized, my worldview just opened up a little bit more.
Right.
I see things, a different way that I didn't see Midland that way. Yeah. And it's, it's powerful to be able to. Not too many jobs do you get to, I talk about me crying a lot, not too many jobs do you get to make other people cry, and it's a good thing.
And it's a good thing,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and that's just, it's really fun to be able to just have, a problem, a client has a problem, they want to solve this problem, and being able to just walk alongside them, figure out, all right, what is your story? What could solve that? And being able to kind of try your best to reconcile that for them. It's exciting. And that's what makes the long, sometimes, 16-hour days of shooting. And the other day we were standing out in the wind and getting pelted with dirt, and grit in our teeth, and it's really easy to get down. But then you go, man, that was a cool day. I learned some stuff. That was a powerful story we just saw, or that was a cool thing we just saw. It makes it all worth it. It's extremely rewarding. Yeah.
If we could summarize this in one sentence or two, what do you want to be known for?
I want to be known for love. 100%. That's, I've told my sons that, and it's clear in the Bible, right? The way you'll be known as my disciples is by your love, and that, to me, hands down the most important thing. I don't care if they believe the same thing I do, look the same as me, whatever. Mm-hmm. I want them to know I love them. And from there, who knows where that relationship goes, but 100%, if someone goes, man, he's a really nice, loving guy, that is cool. I don't even need to be known as a creative person or a filmmaker or whatever. I just want to be known, that I care about people.
Great word. Adam, thank you so much. Good to see you again. Good to reconnect.
Thank you. Absolutely,
and hear about what you're doing now. We'll put in the show notes a little bit about how to get a hold of you through Filmhunter. And thank you again for your time. Say hello to your family. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next week.
Elevate your operation with Performance Chemical Company, the pioneers in redefining chemical solutions for the oil and gas industry in the Permian Basin. Unveiling groundbreaking ideas since 2017, our dry chemistry plant stands as a testament to innovation. Our products and services revolutionize water treatment, production, midstream, and saltwater disposals. We're your strategic partners in optimizing investments, slashing operating expenses. Performance Chemical Company. How you get there matters.